Welcome to Backroom Talk.
We are talking not basic lifestyle guidelines, but basic human guidelines today. The basic human guidelines that we're going to talk about today, these are more movement requirements for living a vital and fulfilled and larger life, to use some more OPEX language.
I believe every human should be able to run for 20 minutes without stopping.
All right, I've got one more, and this one's like a little silly, but we know that having a fulfilled sex life is an important part of health, right?
To listen to more Backroom Talk, be sure to subscribe. Learn to design personalized programs with the OPEX system of coaching by heading to opexfit.com.
Well, guys, welcome to another episode of Backroom Talk. I am Georgia, here with Carl, and we are talking not basic lifestyle guidelines, but basic human guidelines today.
That's such a stretch.
Yeah,
Basic human guidelines.
That's different. Well, I guess, like, first of all, before we go down the human guidelines rabbit hole, I feel like we should answer what are basic lifestyle guidelines, because we use that term so often. For people that are CCP coaches that have been through our education, they know what the BLGs, the basic lifestyle guidelines, are. So what are they?
Yeah, it's just the things that we want humans to, I shouldn't use the term humans because we're talking about humans today, but that people should do and consider, and building just daily habits in their lifestyle. So how much they move their body, how much sleep one gets, how we eat food in terms of the hygiene around that, just the stuff that comes before the simple stuff that comes before the complicated stuff that could have huge amounts of that could pay huge amounts of dividends in improving our health as humans.
So that's the basic lifestyle guidelines. So more lifestyle behavior focused, obviously. The basic human guidelines that we're going to talk about today, these are more movement requirements for living a vital and fulfilled and larger life, to use some more OPEX language.
Or just a functional life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like being able to function as a human being.
Absolutely, to do the things that make life worth living.
Yeah, and we're spitballing here, right? We're not like, this isn't concrete. We'll probably hit on some funny things. I know Georgia has a better sense of humor than I do. So you could say, no, I don't, and then I'll agree.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, just showed it. So yeah, we're kind of spitballing here. So we're not like proposing these are set in stone and concrete. Just some thoughts that we both have on what we think human beings should do to be functional.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like Carl said, this isn't like a list of 20 activities or whatever that you need to make sure your client can tick off to say they're a functional human. And I think it's worth noting as well, not everyone has the same capabilities. We don't all start with the same like physical body that mean we're going to be able to do everything that's on this list. Not everyone is going to be able to swim or hang and do these activities because of some limitations that they may have. And that's okay. But we're just throwing this out there for the average person, what we think will help them live a larger life.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Where did this idea come from? Because you proposed this one, Carl. Why the BHGs?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like at an age where I have to start thinking about how much time I have left and having challenges navigating the world. But I'm thinking about that stuff a lot right now. Just continuing to work with kids in sport and in movement, just saying things that stick out to me that some kids aren't able to do now. And you always think back when you were a kid and you're like, was this the same picture from when I was a kid, right? Like when you ask a kid to lunge up and down a field, and it's like they actually can't do that without using both hands to support themselves, and hands on the knees and driving up through the upper body. Or when you ask a kid to turn sideways and shuffle down a field and they can't really coordinate that, or if you ask a kid to stand on one foot and they're not able to do it, like all that stuff is just I'm just thinking about it a lot right now, just seeing like 10 11-year-olds not being able to do that stuff, and thinking about why are they not able to do it. Were they born not able to do it? Was this an unlearned behavior? Just thinking about that stuff. And then on the other end, I was at a kid's birthday party last weekend, and there was like another dad there, and it was at like this big trampoline park, and this guy got on a trampoline and he didn't know how to jump on a trampoline. Like he couldn't coordinate because when you jump on a trampoline, it's like you can't just have like soft knees the entire time, or you
Sure.
can't have locked knees the entire time. And he couldn't coordinate the like lock to soft to lock to soft, and like as he dipped down in the trampoline, he couldn't like coordinate like, okay, now I have to explode up slightly, right? Because the trampoline helps you a ton. So he couldn't coordinate that, and it was so strange to see that. This guy was probably around 40 years old, and it was clear that either he had never jumped on a trampoline before, or he lost the ability to jump on a trampoline. So, looking at kids and saying, man, why aren't they able to do these things? And then like the very next day looking at adults and being like, why isn't this adult able to do these things? So it just got me thinking, like, what should we be able to do? Is it wrong that a kid can't lunge up and down a field? Is it wrong that this, grown human can't jump on a trampoline? So it just made me think about those things and just write down a couple of ideas in terms of what do I think every human being should do, and like make me think about why I wrote those things down and not just be like, yep, that's it. And I think that's where this conversation will be beneficial, because we can propose some ideas and then kind of dig into them. And we might change our mind on some things today.
Definitely. Well, okay, two things. First of all, I'm trying to be like incredibly kind and empathetic to the situation, and this is a serious conversation, but I feel like a great YouTube rabbit hole to go down would be people like just failing to jump on trampolines. Like just watching people unable to do it.
You don't have to be empathetic about a dude that can't jump on a trampoline. Like we're not that so far gone as a society where we can't joke about that fucking guy.
Yeah.
I think I knew him and I made fun of him right there on the spot. No, I don't know him that well. He goes to the same school. His 5-year-old goes to the same preschool as my 5-year-old. So, but I felt comfortable enough to make fun of him.
Well, I've sat here like for the last 2 minutes or so, as you described it, trying not to laugh, like thinking about laughing. So I'm really glad that I didn't see it, because when I see stuff like that, I just like cannot control it. So that's number one. Number two is completely agree on the kids piece. And I'm working with kids multiple times a week in BJJ. And then you see kids come in as beginners, and then you see adults come in as beginners. And you kind of expect that the adults coming in, and these groups are both learning the same things, right? Mm-hmm. They're learning the same fundamental skills and movements. You expect that the adults have been stiffened and immobilized and like just they've had their shitty 40 years or however many years it's been that are going to make it hard for them to do a knee walk or a penetration step or a forwards roll or whatever it might be. You don't expect that in kids, in 7 to 13-year-olds. You expect that they're kind of like blank slates. They might have some apprehensions and some challenges getting it initially, but you don't think that they're actually going to be limited by their physical capabilities to do that.
Yeah.
But they are.
Yeah.
Like what you see mirrored in the kids class is happening in the adults class, and vice versa. It's no different, especially as they start to hit that kind of like 10, 11, 12-year-old age, and they're starting to grow up in their bodies a little bit. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say that we can't take, I'm not saying you're doing this, but I have to like kind of check myself on this sometimes as well, like seeing some of the kids that I work with and I don't work with these kids. Some of the kids that...
you work with them. They're not like, hey, Carl, like swipe my credit card or whatever, the kids specifically.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
You're working with them.
Yeah. But some of the kids that I'm exposed to...
That was way worse.
Let's go back to work with. Some of the kids that I work with through fitness and football, I have to check myself sometimes with those kids, because I have to remind myself that, just because we're seeing what's right in front of us doesn't mean that is the truth or the outcome of something bad happening or a bad experience, right? And you kind of hit on it with development. You'll see some kids that they'll lose some ability. Like we're going to talk about a bunch of things today, but they'll lose some like movement ability. They'll look like they're super stiff. They'll look like they lost a bunch of strength and they can't get out of that lunge. But sometimes it's not their fault or lack of like going out and doing physical activity. It's just like a part of development. So we have to remind ourselves about that as well. Sometimes kids just, as they grow, they temporarily lose the ability to hit a deep squat, and that's okay, right? It's just like we have to understand what's going on physiologically with those kids, where they lose the ability to comfortably do lunges up and down a field because they're developing at such a rapid rate, especially that like for females like 8, 9. For males, we're talking like 10, 11, 12-ish, right, is where they start to see that. And I'm even seeing it with my own 10-year-old, right? It's like, he started to lose a little bit of like range in his squat, or like he looks like he can't really control his upper body when he gets into a deeper squat, whereas he never had that problem before. Or even like development. It's like, he has a little bit more fat than he did a year or two ago around his midsection and stuff like that. And you could just like see the development where they go through those spurts of like they're developing and not like growing vertically yet. And then they hit that like vertical growth spurt and they look like a completely different person than they did last year. So development with kids is so weird. And we say it a bunch, but like, with kids and working with kids, it's very challenging to say like, we're going to work on this progression, right? Because they are like just brand new humans like every couple weeks, especially around that highly developmental age.
Definitely. Really good point for anyone that is working with kids too, especially if the parents are involved and part of the conversation. And gosh, a lot of the time I think in this like sport performance driven world, parents want to know that their kids are getting better and they're moving towards these goals and blah, blah, blah. And being able to effectively communicate that and why that's not always going to be the case is going to make for a much more fruitful environment for you as a coach and for the kids that are going through fitness and hopefully not being like body shamed by their parents.
Yeah, and I promise I'm not exposing myself to children
Thank
either.
you for clarifying that. That's important.
Yeah, definitely.
So basic human guidelines. Let's get into it.
All right. Let's just, what do you want to do? You want to like go one at a time and kind of hit on it a little bit?
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Or did you have a different idea?
No, let's go. Let's go.
I feel like I changed your mind.
No, well, initially I'd said your list is like much more practical than mine. Mine are like a little bit sillier, but let's go back and forth. We can have a like more serious Carl's one, and then I'll offer something a little lighter.
I'm the serious guy.
Some of mine are serious too.
Okay. All right. First one I have in no particular order. Oh, there's Siri.
Sorry, Siri's just listening.
The first one I have is, I believe every human should be able to run for 20 minutes without stopping.
Yeah.
No particular speed, no particular distance, obviously, but they should just be able to run or jog for 20 minutes without stopping.
I like that a lot. Why 20 minutes?
No particular reason, honestly. I think 20 minutes is just like long enough where it becomes like enduring enough where someone's like, obviously you can get someone breathing in too, but enduring enough where they have to start thinking about how fast they're going. Right, I think anyone can run for 5 minutes and just like drag their way through it. Same with 10 minutes. I think 20 minutes is long enough for the general population person where they have to really start to think about, how do I approach this? How do I attack this? And it's long enough for anyone to kind of like start to, use that aerobic system that we all should have and be able to use because we're literally built to use it.
Definitely. Well, I had something very similar on my list, which was walk and or ride a bike to the nearest grocery store / hospital. And I was thinking about it like more from like a survival perspective, right? Or like being able to look after your basic needs. And that 20-minute mark, I mean, that's probably like about a 5K jog thereabouts. How long does a 5K jog take?
Yeah, not 20 for most people. For most people, like 40.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How long?
You're talking like 3.1 miles.
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah. Most people can't. I mean,
yeah,
a 10-minute mile is extremely challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah, true. Okay, well, let's maybe my duration then is a little bit longer, but if we're thinking about like how far the average grocery store or hospital might be, like maybe a 5K radius in most like bigger cities. Obviously, you get out in the countryside, it's going to be different. But I think having this situation where if like your car's broken down and you can't get to food, water, or a hospital, you're going to want to be able to get there, even if it means a really long, slow 4-hour walk.
That's why we have Ubers, Georgia. Come on.
Not everyone has Uber.
No, it's a good point. And I guess it kind of connects to mine as well. My next one was walking for 60 minutes, and that would kind of fall under the same bucket as what you put there.
Yeah, well, I think about like the pacing progression that we lay out in the OPEX method and what we talk about developing inside of OPEX CCP as like a starting point for someone to do aerobic fitness. And it's that, right?
Yeah.
If someone can't walk for 60 minutes, i.e. do, 60 minutes of low, highly sustainable aerobic work or MAP 10, that's where you begin. You don't have them doing like 2-minute assault bike intervals until they're capable of going really long and slow. So it makes sense that that would be something on your list.
Yeah, definitely. Next thing I have, and I know you have this as well. I didn't put a time on this because I think it's so relative to someone's experience and their body weight and all of that. But just people having the ability to hang from a bar and without putting a time on it. Like in my head, I was thinking initially 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I know you came in a little longer than that. But initially, I was just thinking, everyone should be able to hang on a bar for 5 to 10 seconds. Yeah, that's my next one. I know you have that one as well.
Yeah, I put hanging on for 30 to 60 seconds. I'm not like entirely sure why I went with that time, but when I was thinking about hanging, like I thought about like being in a truck, like in a tough situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And typically when you're hanging on a bar, that's like the best place to hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really easy to hang on a bar relative
Georgia's
to hanging.
Really on the survival thing right
I
now.
am.
Yeah, that's okay.
Either surviving or like having a really full life, as you're going to find out later. But no, it's very rare that like you have this like perfectly shaped thing that you can hang on if you're like hanging on a tree or the edge of a pool or something else like that. Or if someone like, if you fall in the water and someone like throws a boat like oar to you, that is not like hanging on a pull-up bar. It's much harder. So if someone can hang for 30 to 60 seconds on a pull-up bar, they can probably hang for 10 seconds or 20 seconds on something that is less nicely ergonomically shaped for the palm.
Yeah.
So
Most people are just going to die.
I think they will.
Or if they're in water, what is it, 5% of their body weight? 10% of their body weight is all they really have to hold because their bodies are in water. So, they just need to be able to grip a bar.
Yep.
Essentially, right? If they needed to survive in that water situation, edge of a cliff, most people are dying.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, unless you're the solo dude. So like pool, water, stuff like that. It's like I think anyone could do that just because you're not really holding your body weight in those things. Situations.
I don't think either of us had this, but like climbing a rope would be a good one too. Like maybe that might be a little bit too challenging to put on this list. But I think about, you have the short rope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have the ability to go from laying to standing by pulling yourself with your hands.
Yeah.
That feels like a good physical skill for anyone to be able to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think, because I thought about like pulling your body up and all that stuff. And to me, that's just not, maybe it's just a stretch. I think in a perfect world, it'd be great if everyone could like find themselves on, a side of a wall and be able to jump up and pull their body weight up without their feet to the other side. But I just think back to like military days and a lot of like fairly what you would think were fit like military guys and girls couldn't mostly guys in those situations couldn't even do that, and it's just like, oof, man. So for me to say like, oh, every human should do it, I had a little bit of pause there.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, like the ability to hang on a bar is like a good measure of someone's grip strength, right? Like, can they hang themselves? Obviously, arms are overhead. Like, grip strength is going to be different depending on what you're holding onto and how. Are you holding your own body weight? Are you holding an external object? It's all a little bit different in terms of measurement. But grip strength is a really good indicator of all-cause mortality. And we know that as grip strength goes down, the like likelihood of all-cause mortality increases significantly, or the risk of it. Now, that doesn't mean that like just because someone has poor grip, they're going to die. And there's certainly like, it's like chicken or egg, right? Like, is it health issues that are causing someone's grip to decrease that's also causing the increase in mortality? But we do know, and I think it's fair to say that like doing some regular resistance training that's probably going to improve your grip does have significant protective effects against dying.
Yeah.
So keeping an eye on grip strength throughout someone's lifetime is not a bad thing to do.
Yeah. My thought was more, this will be our last thing and then we can move on to the next one. My thought was more on if someone's controlling how much body weight they have. Because it does get complicated when we start talking about like correlations and stuff like that. But yeah, I think if someone's able to just, hold their body weight up from a hanging position for a given amount of time, that probably means that they're not morbidly obese, right? Or if they are very heavy, they should be that heavy, if that makes sense. Like they can actually control their own body weight. So some good points there.
Makes sense. Good measurement of relative strength. All right. What's next on the list, Carl?
Next one I have is having the ability to sit down unassisted.
I like it. Why is that important?
Because we have to take shits and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we have to.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, we have to sit down on chairs and couches and nations outside of our own. People have to crouch down and they have to get into a full squat to take that poop. We don't have to do that on this side of the world. But I think it's important that people are able to sit down. And then my next one was stand up, but let's put these both together. Sitting down and standing up unassisted.
Yeah.
And that's one where I think we could all kind of look at that. Not saying that, and I don't even think it has a lot to do with age. Because I think there's some people that are fairly fit humans that have they're not comfortable sitting down and standing up unassisted. And by unassisted, I just mean like using your hands, right? Like hands on the knees and sitting down, hands on the knees and driving yourself up. And, they may be able to back squat 400 pounds, but they can't even sit down and stand up with their own body weight without pain or discomfort. So that could actually tell someone like, hey, you're pushing yourself out of function, right? Like, not to pick on power lifters, but you kind of see that with people like power lifters that are always like pushing the envelope and maximum human potential as it relates to strength, right? It can actually, and they know this, right? Like it's spoken about a ton, but it takes away from your normal day to day, right? Like that person can get so far down that rabbit hole that they can't run for 20 minutes. They can't walk for 60 minutes without stopping. They can't sit down and stand up unassisted. So yes, this has a lot to do with age, and as we age, that becomes more difficult. But I think we could all look at our current circumstances, being, 15 to 45 years old, and it's like, man, do I have issues sitting down and standing up?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great reminder that this list isn't just about defying aging and some of the things we might observe in our parents or older populations we've worked with. It also can be the case that someone's no longer living by the basic human guidelines because they're going so far down that athlete pursuit of performance rabbit hole. And like you said, this conversation is about being a functional human, not being a high performing human, reaching their physical potential. So really interesting parallel of two kind of opposite ends of the spectrum that take you away from basic human guidelines.
Yeah, where my head was when I put those two down as well was actually, and this wasn't like a guideline, so I didn't put it down, but it was like the thought of living day to day without pain and or discomfort was something that stuck out as well. And I guess that had the same to do with sitting down and standing up unassisted for someone that's not trying to defy the aging process and stuff like that. But yeah, just living day to day, not in pain or in discomfort.
Yeah, I'll add on. So as I was thinking about my list, I was thinking about a lot of the things that just make life worth living and milestone moments and just important things you want to be able to do in your day-to-day life. And so one of the things I put on my list that I think connects quite well to the sitting and standing up piece is the idea of being able to take a knee unassisted to propose. No one wants to be proposed to by someone that falls over as they try to go down into a lunge or has
exactly.
to
yeah, I don't want people proposing to me that can't take a knee.
No. So male or female, whoever you are, you should be able to, you should be capable of proposing to your significant other, i.e. doing a controlled eccentric on a lunge and then controlling yourself back up without that person's assistance.
I like that. I had a lunge in there as well. Just being able to utilize that pattern, and we see it in different circumstances, whether you're that proposer or whether you're lunging down to tie your shoe. I guess we can kind of bend down, we can squat down, we can lunge down
we got
to tie
options.
your shoe. You can actually be in that leg extended on the butt position and testing the hamstring flexibility and tie your shoe. There's a bunch of ways to do it. You can lift that leg up and tie your shoe, and that would still kind of put you in that lunge position.
True.
Right? More of a step up.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree. I think that's one that everyone should do. Where the hell did the getting on a knee to propose come from?
I have absolutely no idea. I have no clue.
Yeah,
I don't know. My husband didn't propose to me that way.
No.
No, we just decided we were going to get married.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very unromantic.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, I'm not on a knee type of guy either.
that's fair enough. But you're physically capable of it if you need to.
If I had to, I could do it.
If you ever need to propose again.
Yeah, if
Just kidding, Janice.
if your significant other proposes to you and they're not on a knee, be like, I don't care that you're not on a knee. I just want to know that you could be on a knee. So my answer actually depends on if you're able to get on a knee. You don't have to propose on that knee, but you just have to be able to get on that knee.
So let's just do a quick OPEX move screen just to make sure you got all of the movement patterns covered, okay? Make sure you can do that reverse plank for 60 seconds. Then I'll say yes.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of fun, right, to think about how the movements, like the individual movements that are inside of that OPEX move, do actually connect to like very functional things that we do throughout the day. Because I think we perform these things in the gym, right? We do a plank in the gym, we do a lunge in the gym, we do an air squat in the gym, but we don't often think about what that actually means for our day to day and why it's important to do those things other than just like ticking the box. Like, yes, that person has good motor control in the squat. Yes, they can, bend at the, raise their leg and do all the things they need to do, right? It's fun to think about what that actually means for life.
Sorry, I was just looking at where that came from. And I thought this is where it came from because it feels like so many things come from this. But it's a tradition that goes back to medieval times when knights dropped to one knee out of respect for royalty.
That's funny. I thought that might be it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. I was like, oh, people take a knee when they get knighted.
Yeah. Yeah. Chivalry was very much alive back then.
Not anymore.
Yeah, totally different conversation.
Different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, we agree on that one.
Yes.
Taking a knee. So I
knee
had
and
that. So
lunging.
I won't talk about the ability to get into that pattern or position.
We're on lower body, so I'll throw another lower body one out there. So I have walk up the steps or climb a box or climb on a rock 1 foot at a time. So I don't know if you've observed this in people that have weaker lower bodies or potentially they're getting older and they don't do any strength training like they should. And they step one leg up and they just can't quite extend that knee and that hip until they take the other leg up and then they kind of squat out of that step.
Yeah.
So I think the ability to do that lunge step, that step up is super important.
Yeah. Would you say that the proposal get on a knee is a prerequisite to stepping up?
I guess it is, huh? There we go.
Yeah. Because that's what I thought about when you said getting in that position, and that's what I was thinking about with the lunge. It also carries over to being able to step up and walk upstairs one leg at a time, and honestly, it goes back to our running for 20 minutes. Can you bound from one leg to another? Do you have enough strength to do that in a solid position, whatever that means for that person?
Definitely.
Cool.
I like it.
Next thing I have is pretty obvious, and you hear this all the time, but it's lift objects off the ground. So obviously we're like hitting on all patterns and stuff as we roll through this list, but that's definitely an important one because I don't want to beat this one to death, and I don't want to use examples that we've all heard thousands of times, but we should be able to bend over and pick something off the ground and navigate that challenge. Sometimes that thing is something really light, and other times that thing is very heavy and it challenges that pattern. And sometimes we have to get outside of that like perfect bend at the hip, and then the knees flex once the hands are past the knees and all of that. It's like, hey, just pick that thing up off the ground and do it however you can.
Definitely. You think about doing strongman training at the gym, and like I think we got a question like a while ago on maybe an Ask OPEX Anything about like why do strongman training with general population clients. And there's some really great stuff to be learned. If someone already understands like the bend pattern and they can effectively do a deadlift with a barbell, give them a sandbag and let them learn how to navigate picking that thing up off the ground. Because if we think about functionality and like which is more practical for everyday life, do most objects look like sandbags or do they look like barbells? Most are probably a little bit closer to a sandbag. Doesn't mean you can't build good strength that's then going to be functional on a lovely barbell. You absolutely can. But it's just a good opportunity to have to navigate something a little different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we want to be able to bend down and pick something up. I also have on my list that we want to be able to take our suitcase. So take our suitcase off the ground and then put it in the overhead compartment. So not only pick it up off the ground, but press it up overhead. And no, I'm not saying that everyone like needs to be able to push jerk a barbell overhead or do a handstand push up or anything like that. Does everyone need to regularly do overhead training? Maybe, maybe not, depending on what they're capable of. But
So you heard from Georgia, everyone has to muscle snatch.
yes, muscle snatches for everyone, please. But no, I do think that the ability to take a suitcase from the ground and put it in the overhead compartment in a plane yourself is a good thing to be able to do as you try and navigate travel in this world. No one wants to have to rely on a kind gentleman or lady to do it for them.
What would you do? You don't know me.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, I'm walking behind you. We're in a crowded plane, and you had like a kind of heavy bag rolling behind you, and we stop and we're sitting next to each other, and I'm like, oh no, I got that, and I take your bag and I start to put it overhead. What do you do?
Oh, it's funny because this has happened to me at least half a dozen times.
Yeah.
I say, no, I'm cool, I got it, and I do it myself.
But what if I just act so quickly that I put it up there for you? Are you upset? Are you thankful that I did that for you? Like, what is that?
I would, you know what, I'm not the kind of person that lets something that's outside of my control ruin my day, because I think there's plenty we can get upset about and like get ourselves worked up about that actually isn't useful for anyone. So I might be like, you know, thanks, kind stranger, but you know, you see these guns? I got this myself. I'm talking about my biceps, not my gun that I carried.
I was like,
onto
how the hell did you
plane.
get that on the plane?
I have no guns.
My gosh.
But no, I think I'd make a joke about it, and I would let the person know that I was capable, but in a kind way. And I assume that they didn't mean any malicious intent by taking my bag, but I'd want them to know I could do it myself.
They were just, I mean, it may have not been malicious, but they were trying to say that you are not capable of doing this.
You know what?
Georgia?
I'd wrestle them to the ground and I would choke them out on
There
the
we
plane.
go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, cool. I like that one. And it connects nicely to the lifting objects off the ground. But you're just saying continue that lift
Yeah,
and
keep
put
lifting.
that shit overhead.
Keep lifting, baby. If you got a little bit of upper body strength, you should be able to do it.
Yeah. Next one I had is not die if one were to be thrown into water and a 2-minute timer was rolling. So be able to survive for 2 minutes in water if you are thrown into that water or if you fall into that water unexpectedly.
I love that one. I come from a land of a lot of water and also a lot of swim education. Australians are pretty good at swimming, just based on the way that it is taught in schools growing up. Guidelines around like needing to be able to swim, because when you're surrounded by water, you want to do that or there's going to be kids drowning all the time. Doesn't seem to be the case here in the US. Swim, like access to like good swim education and the assumption that like anyone that's over the age of like 8 years old is going to be okay in the water is not a good assumption to make. I've run into a lot of like grown adults who cannot swim here, which is amazing. Like even fit people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I remember like that like weird time where, I mean, I grew up in a place where swimming wasn't really a thing. You know, obviously there was pools and stuff that like that around. But it was like one of those like, you don't want to say you can't swim, so you better just like, it's embarrassing to not be able to swim, so you just like figure it out. Sorry about that. Georgia just took a drink of her whiskey and she just coughed. It was a little bit too much for her.
Sorry guys, I'm clearly not haven't got enough hairs on my chest to take that whiskey I was drinking.
Joking. Georgia's not drinking whiskey. Yeah, it was like one of those things where you just figure it out. Yeah, you figure swimming out. So I remember being like, you know, 8, 9 years old, and like having like this, gosh, what was that place called? It was like a mile away from my house. It was something bowl. Anyway, it was like a little like swim area that like a bunch of kids and adults went to, and I just like figured it out and just like jumped in and like could not swim but not die. So
Yeah.
I could be in that water for 2 minutes without dying. And I never went through any like formal swim education or anything like that. Kind of just taught myself. So yeah, I wish I grew up in a place where it was kind of forced on you, where there is education around swimming and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, be able
It's
to swim.
important.
Yeah,
Be able to swim, and in open water as well. It's definitely very different swimming in a pool versus swimming in a lake or even swimming in the ocean where there is like riptides and waves and things like that. I think about we did a swim WOD. So when I was managing a CrossFit gym,
What's a WOD?
workout of the day.
WOD.
Swim
Got it. Yes,
WOD.
yes.
So we went to the lake, one of our clients' lake houses, and we did some burpees and some sit-ups and some air squats on the side. And then there was we call them buoys. I think you call them buoys.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a buoy, and you had to swim out to the buoy and back. And not many people made it. We had to do some.
Did they die?
No, they did not die, but quite a few people got like, I don't know, 10, 20 meters out, freaked out because they were in open water, which feels very different to swimming in a pool, swimming laps, and had to like immediately turn around. I think like there was like 2 of us that could do it.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid of those people to think they could just do it.
Yeah,
that's
people
that's like someone
massively-
walking in a gym and being like, yeah, I can snatch this bar 30 times.
People massively overestimate their abilities in the water.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. What do you got next?
What do I have next? I've got a few. I like this one. This one's kind of whimsical. I think you should be able to balance on the edge of the sidewalk. So, there's like the little raised part. I was trying to think of what it's called, like on the edge.
Like a curb?
Yeah, curb.
Yeah.
It's so fun to be able to balance on that curb, one foot in front of the other. I don't know if you've noticed when I walk, but if there's a curb, I'm going to step on that thing, like the little raised thing on the edge. So I just think that's a thing we should be able to do, and it's a good little test of balance as well.
I'd balance as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is just the application of balance, right?
Yeah.
What is your balance? Is it
I just had balance, so yeah, nothing specific. But have you worked with obviously you have. Have you worked with someone where you told them to do like something single leg and they're just like a fish out of water once they lift one leg off the ground, and it's like everything in their body just starts shaking? That person obviously hasn't been exposed to standing on one leg. Seems super simple, but it's applicable for a lot of coaches that, pull up Coach RX and they're like, yes, single leg Romanian deadlift with everyone. And it's like, dude, not everyone can be on a single leg, let alone with a barbell or a couple dumbbells in their hands. So, just building the skill of being able to balance on one foot, I think is important. And yes, I could say like, you might find yourself walking across something, and if you fall, you're going to die. If you have no balance, I hope you never find yourself in that position. But I think it's just something that we are capable of doing as humans, so we should be able to do it.
Definitely. I mean, it's something I've learned to not overestimate in people, because it's really easy to overestimate. If I think about like the kind of mistakes that I have made in program design in the past, overestimating people's single leg ability is probably one of them, based on like what they can do bilaterally. So what I see in their squat and their deadlift. Just because someone has a strong squat or a strong deadlift doesn't mean that they're going to be able to do that on one leg effectively. So biggest mistakes would be overestimating that. And I find myself being very cautious, adding, single leg variations, loaded single leg variations, and spending a lot of time on one foot without any external load before adding anything external other than stuff to help with balance.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so that's the ability to balance. We both kind of had that there. Anything else you want to throw on your list?
Yeah, and this isn't fitness related, so I'm not saying like you should be able to do a burpee or anything like that, because I think it's kind of stupid when we say burpees are functional, because it teaches someone to do this, but being able to get off the ground in both a prone and supine position.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, and not just be able to do it, but in the quality in which someone does it. I think if we had like a highest order, how should someone be able to get off the ground from a prone position? It'd be with not ever getting on their knees, right? So it's like anyone can kind of like struggle up and stand up, but it's like, can you go from, chest on the ground to arms extended to one foot forward, and then just coordinate the other foot forward and just stand up, and then the same from a supine position. And I'm not saying like you should like ninja it up where you like arch back and do the whole like I don't know, I think of like the movie Three Ninjas when I think about this, but that whole deal. But it's like, do you have the coordination to roll into that prone position if that's what you have to do and get up, or do you have the the ability to actually sit your body up from a cross-legged position and stand up.
So I'm like just here trying not to laugh. Have you seen the movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Taika Waititi, who plays like the evil boss.
Uh-huh.
He's a New Zealand Kiwi guy. He's hilarious. He's an amazing director, but he has a little cameo in this movie. Or I guess not really a cameo. The scene where he's laying on the ground and he tries to do that ninja thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where he jumps onto his feet and just like fails. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was a
That's
funny
so good.
movie.
That was. The boys love that movie. They were just watching it the other day on HBO Max, but we went to the theater to see that one, and they just loved it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
It was funny.
It was a Free Guy, light movie, but a good one.
Yeah. So getting off the ground from a prone and a supine position, I think is really important.
The going from sitting to standing as well. Not to go like down the rabbit hole of like correlation and mortality, but I think there's like interesting research on the number of times you like drop an elbow or a knee to get up from a like cross-legged position to standing, and like the number of like elbows and knees you drop correlates to how likely you are to die. Great.
I just made a face. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do a study where we just make a bunch of fucking correlations. It's like, what?
Isn't that? But I think the way that they propose you get up, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is like you essentially like are cross-legged and you like swivel up.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah. I mean, but I'm not going to say someone's going to die if they put their elbow down. No, that's fucking crazy. Yeah. I mean, sorry if you're one of those researchers and you're listening to this, but I think that's kind of dumb.
I can't do that. I can't like effectively do that swivel up thing. And I remember feeling really bad about it like maybe about 10 years ago.
Yeah. What was I in where we had to do? I think it was like combatives or something like that. Where it was like a big thing where it was like a month straight. Anytime you were on your butt, you couldn't use your hands or anything to get up, but you just had to like go from that cross-legged position to the one foot in front of the other, or directly from that cross-footed position right up. I remember that was like a thing, and I was just like, this is just dumb. Like, yeah, cool, you can get up this way if you need to, but I'm not gonna ever choose to get up that way. I would probably judge someone that like every time they were sitting on their butt, they had like did this like advanced variation of getting up.
Not the
Next
most
time I see someone
efficient.
put their hand on the ground, I'm like, you're a fucking die. Man.
So it's okay if you put your hand down to get up off the ground.
I'm saying it is. I'm gonna die on that hill, man. I'm gonna die on it.
Maybe literally. No. Okay, I've got another one. I think you should be able to tuck and roll. So like, let's say you do your swivel thing and then someone comes and pushes you.
Yeah.
And you don't have time to step a leg and steady yourself, and you're just diving like head into the ground. Being able to roll out of it, doing a somersault, I think is an important skill.
Why do you think that's important?
Yeah, well, so number one, so you don't smash your face when you fall. You're less likely to like break a wrist if you're falling on like a hard surface by catching yourself, if you can safely somersault out of it.
Sorry, Georgia. I'm imagining someone walking outside, tripping, and having the wherewithal to tuck and roll instead of cut. I'm gonna push you one day. And if you don't tuck and roll, I'm coming back on this podcast and I'm letting the world know that Georgia had the like foosh thing and put her hand down and caught herself.
I don't know. I think someone with like a lot of martial arts training might tuck and roll out of that situation if it has been ingrained.
I feel like
in
Michael
them.
Band would tuck and roll.
He probably would. He probably would. Yeah. But like we learn, don't drop a hand. Like it is beat out of you, don't drop a hand, because so many people break their wrists dropping a hand to catch themselves. So if you get pushed or thrown or whatever it is, you just tuck your chin and roll safely, and you learn how to do that, and you start doing it quite instinctually after a while. But it's normally on mats, so that's helpful unless coach decides it's a parking lot training session, which my old coach used to do sometimes. But no, I think it's also just having the flexibility to be able to like curve your spine in that way and like not be so stiff that you can't like tuck your head through your through your legs and be able to roll safely on your back is a good example of like some functional mobility.
A lot of coordination too, right? Like knowing when to tuck, like the pressure that you need to drive into the ground to get your body all the way through that role. Yeah, I think there's a lot of coordination there as well.
Yeah, I think it's maybe it's a skill. Maybe it's not so much like a physical capability, but I think it's a useful thing for everyone to learn.
Yeah, I think if someone has that skill, though, I think it has a lot of carryover. Like, that's one of those things where, like, if you can do this, you can probably do 15 other things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd agree with you.
What's next on yours?
Well, I'm not going to let you get away from this. I'm not going to push you because that's probably
You want me to
not-
share my funny one?
Wait, what?
You want me to share my funny one? Oh, no, what do you want me to do?
What do you mean?
No, it doesn't matter.
Oh, no, sorry.
move
No,
on.
like, physically, I'm not going to push you.
Oh, okay.
To see if you tuck and roll.
Okay.
But I don't think outside you would tuck and roll. I think you would. I think instinctually you would do that and fall.
I probably would just like really try and step. I
No,
think
let's
that-
say you're falling, though. Let's
I'm
not
already
even use
going.
that. Yeah, you're going.
I don't know. I think I'd roll.
I don't know. Because I think by the time it hits you, because you're not expecting it, right? Like when you're in that, like when you're on a mat, you're expecting that person to like,
True.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
Different environment.
But yeah, by the time you understand, like, hey, I'm going down, you're already to a point where you probably, if you try to tuck, your face is probably going to hit the ground because you've already gone too far.
And you know I'm not very fast. So.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying, I just don't, man, I would be, yeah, like a ninja would definitely tuck and roll.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm just trying to imagine that. Let's YouTube some videos of people being pushed from behind.
Let's try it on Jacob, because Jacob's been doing jiu-jitsu for 1.5 years now.
yeah.
So, and he's not going to be expecting it because we
Yeah.
haven't had this conversation. So he's like,
But what if we break it, like, knock his teeth out or something? And I can't do it. Like, that's like workplace violence. You can't do it. It's domestic violence.
yeah, that is.
Yeah, so
Oh.
we'll just have to watch the YouTube videos.
Yeah, okay.
I'll wrap it up here. These are more like bonus pieces because
Yeah.
I know a lot of people can't do these, but being able to receive something in a catch
Yes.
and being able to throw an object,
Yeah.
I think is something that is beneficial. I'm gonna call those bonus because they're not like you need these to survive or everyone should be able to do them effectively. But there's a lot of people that can't throw and catch, and there's a lot of people that call themselves athletes that can't throw and catch. And if you're an athlete, I don't care what your sport is, you should be able to throw something and catch it.
Carl's looking at me right now.
I'm
As someone who
looking
can't
down.
throw and catch.
No, you just can't throw a frisbee.
That's different.
That's way different. Yeah. Yeah, where I'm from, not a lot of people could throw a frisbee. But I mean like overhand throw something far. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, throwing and catching, I think there's some good coordination. There's some good flexibility in being able to, get your hand behind your head and throw an object. I think there's some good coordination and catching and let's just call it like the ability to be able to, I'll just call it like soft hands, but like receive something.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of carryover there because, hey, you never know. You might be one of those people that you see on like Ridiculousness that's just like walking down the street and a baby falls out of the air. And it's like you might have to receive and catch that baby right in your hands, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are bonus things, but I think those are important for people to be able to do. And if you can't do it, learn to do it. There's some fun that comes along with learning that stuff.
Don't be the person that drops the baby.
No.
You
Don't drop the baby.
One of our LearnRx instructors, Robin Stivers, is putting out a class called Programming Play in the next couple of, or it could even be live by the time this podcast goes out. No, maybe not quite yet. But one of the physical skills he talks about is the ability to throw and catch, and some fun ways to drill that and reaction catching and throwing with your client that you can kind of incorporate in a play setting inside of the gym. So some good stuff in there.
I'm gonna save Robin here a bunch of time. Sorry, I know you already created the class, Robin, but just play dodgeball.
Oh, I love dodgeball.
That's it. Play dodgeball. We were at the trampoline place, and they have trampoline dodgeball.
Oh.
Dude, unbelievable.
Every time we have a staff gathering, I'm like, let's play dodgeball, and it gets shut down because people don't want to get hurt.
No, I think it's because we're on Zoom.
No, but in-person gathering. In-person staff gathering.
We need to grab those Oculuses.
Definitely
Play some
dodgeball.
dodgeball.
People are like going through windows. So,
but yeah, dodgeball, a great game for kids. I love seeing kids play dodgeball. I love seeing my kids play dodgeball. It's fun. It's fun just like watching their skills and abilities. Carson was playing with a bunch of like 12 to 15-year-olds, and he was just like crushing. Not so much on the catching because they were like whipping it at him. And it was just like bouncing off his head, but some good learnings and what not to do
resilience.
for him. Yeah, but he has a good arm.
We play a game called Slaughter Ball. You can play this with adults if you have, if you're having a fun time at the gym. Maybe you're doing like a client appreciation day. Kind of everyone's like hanging out, having some healthy snacks and playing some games at the gym. So Slaughter Ball, you essentially take a big Swiss ball, you deflate it a little bit so it's a little squishy, you can kind of grab it and throw it, and you line we play with kids, you line a bunch of kids up against the wall and you peg the Swiss ball at them, and they have to either catch the ball. If they catch the ball, they're still in, or they have to get out of the way. And if it hits them, they're out. They got to go sit out. But it's very fun.
Yeah, I think we call that a firing line.
So Slaughter Ball would
Slaughter
recommend
Ball.
it if
Like
you want to take some anger out on some kids or some adults.
Cool.
Yeah. I've got a couple more on my list. So I have opened a jar, and this, like, I could have brought this up when we were talking about hanging on a bar as well, but the ability to open a jar I think is an important one, and no one wants to have to ask their significant other, especially like as a woman. I don't want to ask my husband to have to open a jar for me. That feels annoying and silly. I want to do it myself, so having the grip strength to open a jar.
What if you're someone that's so healthy that you always shop at the perimeter of the grocery store and you never have an opportunity to open a jar?
What about fermented foods? Don't you know that like pickles and kimchi and all that stuff is good for your gut, and you should be eating that, and most of that comes in a jar, Carl?
No comment. No comment. Now, actually, they come in bags.
Bags, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know kimchi specifically, like kimchi and sauerkraut and stuff like that.
You can get it in a bag.
Yeah, they come in like little, like the little, not Ziploc, but yeah, I guess you would call it like a Ziploc type bag.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's like a brand. I forgot what it's called.
So you can just avoid jars.
Yeah, just avoid jars at all costs.
Not to have to be tested on that physical skill.
Yeah.
All right, I've got one more, and this one's like a little silly, but we know that having a fulfilled sex life is an important part of health, right? You got to make sure you're looking after the whole body, not just like your muscles, right? You gotta make sure all elements are looked after. And so I had the ability to be an active lover, and as a side note, to be able to be on top.
Just say it. Yeah, you're beating around the bush here.
I know I am. But I think
Joe just like trying to soften it up. She's like, yeah, this and this and this and this, and, be on top.
But no, you should you don't have to be a passive lover all the time.
Yeah.
You should be everyone, male, female, whoever you are. You should be able to take either side of the equation and be a good lover. And I think certainly from a cardiovascular point of view, from a flexibility point of view, from a strength point of view, some people aren't capable of that. So if that's you, assess what you're doing and upgrade your fitness, and your partner will thank you.
If you can't do that, I'm going to lay out a progression here for you, and this is off the top of my head. First, be able to walk for 60 minutes.
Yes.
Then be able to run for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then be able to get up off the ground from a prone position.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then be able to bend down and pick things up off the ground, because we need to master the bend pattern.
Bending is important.
Yeah, once you have all that down, you don't have to throw, you don't have to catch, you don't have to do any of that stuff. Then you can be on top.
Well, no, I think you also need to be able to hold a plank. But I guess you said getting off the ground, and that part of that is pressing your body weight up. Okay, there we go. That's it. That's all you need, guys.
A progression. So we could maybe, maybe not for OPEX, but maybe for our other company.
Yes.
We could build a progression graph that shows all of that from, it's like, I'm thinking about like the crawling to running, and it's like, this one is walking to, I'm just going to stop there because I'm going to get too.
Walking to banging.
Yeah, that's it.
Be upfront about it. I think we're all over 18 on this podcast. I'm not sure.
I think there's an E next to this podcast, right?
There is.
Because we like say fuck and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we can talk about sex. It's
cool.
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're grown-ups. We're grown-ups, and we want to look after people's health in the entire picture.
Yep.
Inside and outside of the gym, and so help people have better sex by making sure that they can run for 20 minutes and all of the other things.
Exactly.
There we go. Well, guys, those are the basic human guidelines.
We just solved some problems
We
today.
did.
Yeah, that was a big one.
I wonder if you guys can do all of these things or not. Let us know in the comments. Give us a bell. Let us know what you think of the basic human guidelines. Maybe you have something else you'd like to see added to that list. Let us know what you think. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. Those things help a lot, and we appreciate you.
I guarantee we're gonna get someone that says, "What about carries?"
We're
like
gonna get a what about carries? What about rotation,
What about
Carl? We didn't talk
rotation?
about rotation.
Oh yes.
Ooh,
Man, that's for next time.
you got to be able to chop wood.
Oh yeah, chop wood. All right, we'll talk about that next time.
There we go, guys.
Rotate.
Bye.